huge butternut squash. And Carrie Baker grew it, and I am so proud to get this squash. And I tried to cut it a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can. We're gonna cook this thing. He said he was a volunteer in his garden. He's a big gardener here, and I'm telling you, I'm proud to have it. This will be my first time to cook a butternut squash. So he told me how to do it, and I'm gonna do it. But before we start, I want to tell you this. It's time to do a giveaway. And so we're going to give away a big box of the AMISH bar soap that I told you that I use on my skin, my face, and body. And we're going to give a big bag of Preacher's Pecans. And we're going to give it to 2 winners. And this is what I want you to do to be in the eligibility to get it, okay? You know, I told you the other day about the Child Advocacy Center that helps abused children. And y'all, I know we don't like to think about children being abused, but they are. And they have to have help. And so this center, what they do is they do some things for the child. They give him therapy, or him or her, whoever it might be. They do counseling, and they take care of any medical needs that might be necessary since the child's been abused. And anyway, so they do those things for it, and it's at no cost to the child or his family. That is paid for to help that child during this awful, awful time of his life. And so anyway, if you will donate to this, just any amount, just donate something to help these children, that would be great. And we're going to figure out who gets the prizes. There'll be 2. And you'll get a big bag of pecans and a big box of soap. And you can put that in your shower and use it. So I'd appreciate it. I'm going to put a way that I'm going to tell you how you can do this on the words on my video. So that, the type out. Okay? So we'll do that. But anyway, let's get back to this big old butternut squash. He said he had one bad spot in it. He told me just cut that out, so I will. And I got my knife. Now here we go. I don't know how to do, but we're going to do. I'm going to start it right here. I did a while ago a little bit. I may have to get out my big old meat cleaver, hadn't I? I don't know. I got my oven preheating on 400. I know, I'm being careful. I can hear y'all through the screen. You're saying, Brenda, please be careful. You're gonna cut your hand off. Well, I hope not. Let me try this knife right here and see what it'll do. If not, I can always go get my meat cleaver. This is times like these is when I really use George. He was a strong man. Whew, yay! I got it. All right, we got it cut into 2 pieces. That looks pretty inside, doesn't it? Butternut squash. All right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn it up this way and see what I can do. He told me to cut it in 2 and lay it flat on my pan. Now, I'm sure some more of you will have some ideas of how to cut and do, because every time I post something, y'all tell me what you do. Yesterday when I posted that cheese log, a lot of y'all wrote in and told what you did. And y'all give such good suggestions and everything. All right, here's the inside of it. The butternut squash. Kind of looks like a cantaloupe, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to get me a little bowl out. And I got on a cute apron today. It's a big old moo cow. Big old moo cow. You know, since I lived on a farm till I was 4, and then Daddy had cows after that. Y'all aren't going to believe this, but I like to smell cow manure. A pasture of cows, I love it. I think it smells so good. All right, let me see if I can get this out of here. I'll tell you what it reminds me of is a pumpkin. A jack-o'-lantern we used to do. All right, it's coming out. This probably make a good jack-o'-lantern if I cut it right. I'm gonna cut this old rotten spot out while I'm at it. Cut a V shape out of it. Anyway, I'm gonna show y'all how to cook this thing and show you what Mr. Carey told me how to do. All right. Y'all feel like we're cutting a pumpkin, don't you? Seeing all this stuff in it. I hope it's good after all this trouble I'm going to. I can tell you that. Let me turn that thing down a little bit. That might help some. Yeah, look at me. I need to get a handle on this thing, don't I? I've already washed the outside real good. He said a lot of water would come out of this thing, and so when I put it on my pan, to make sure that my pan had little sides on it, so I do. I chose this type of pan right here, and see how it's got the sides on it? In case some of it comes out. All right, I think that one's probably good enough. All right. We're gonna lay it down flat. He said lay it down flat in the pan with the skin side up, just like this. All right, I'm gonna turn y'all off while I do this part and we'll come back on, okay? All right, I got the other half cleaned out. So this gives us 2 halves. It didn't take me too long to do it. Gives us 2 halves, and I'm gonna cut this other part too and see what we can do with it. This part right here. It's as heavy as the other one. He told me that sometimes in this end of it, it might be like pithy, he called it. You know, like a sweet potato will get, I don't know if that's a southern word or what, y'all. But it's called pithy. It's when it gets strings in it. And a lot of stuff will do that. Squash will get pithy. Sweet potatoes will get pithy. Turnip roots will get, the actual root of it will get pithy too. All right. Let's cut it down this way now. Tell you what. I'm sure y'all will be writing in saying, Miss Brenda, this is the easy way to do it right here. And you probably got an easy way, and if you do, you tell me, and I'll tell Mr. Carey what y'all said. I'll show it to him. He may even read it on the comments. Whew. Oh my goodness. But isn't it pretty, y'all? This is beautiful. Let me cut this old bad spot out right here. Actually, the meat is real tender. It's that old peeling that's hard. All right, we've got our oven on now. We've got it on 400. I think I'm gonna turn it down though. I'm gonna turn it down to, I believe I'm gonna turn it down to 350 and just let it cook a longer time. I think that's what I'll do. Because I don't want it to burn. Let me fix it. There. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put this part right here in my pan, kind of right there, and I'll put this one right here. And they said to cover it up with a foil to a little bit so that it would hold the heat in, so I'll do that. Cook it around a little. And I'll check it every now and then to see if there's too much water in the pan, like when it's cooking. All right, let me put another little piece right over here on this side. And I think what they said to do is that it'd take a couple of hours for it to really get tender. And for me to just keep feeling of it, mashing it and feeling of it. Okay. And here's our pile of stuff. I wonder if I put that in my mulch pile, will I get a butternut squash? It's probably the wrong time of year to be throwing it out, isn't it? But anyway, all right, let's stick it in our oven. We're gonna get this out in a little bit. Ooh. Well, it won't be a little bit. It'll be a couple hours or so. So you know I'm gonna have to turn you off. But before I go, I want to tell you this. You know, I was telling you about me liking to smell manure in a cow pasture. And I think it's because I was raised with it in that smell, and it brings back memories to me. But another thing I like to smell is those wild onions that when they used to cut the grass in my neighborhood when we moved to Tuscaloosa, the daddies would get out there cutting grass, and those wild onions had a smell to it, and I love to smell that too, see? But anyway, and there's something else I want to tell y'all. You may have never heard of this, but you know, my daddy always used manure on his tomato plants, and he'd dig a big hole, and he would mix dirt in with manure and put it in that hole. And then he, you know, you're supposed to plant your tomato plants really super deep. Just leave the little bitty top out. And all that other part, you know, like if you buy it and it's in a little cup and it's got this much stalk and then this much green of it, well, just pinch off those other greens, stick that thing way down in that dirt, and it will root and do a lot better. You don't plant a tomato plant the same level as that little thing that you bought, okay? Anyway, Daddy could grow some huge tomatoes and stuff. And then later on in life, I learned about manure tea. And I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that, but what you do is this, y'all. You get a big old, one of those big cans, tubs, whatever you call them, a big old barrel. That's what you call a big barrel. It can be plastic or metal, whatever you want. And you go out in your cow pasture or your horse pasture or goat pasture, whatever, and you put, you fill it halfway full of manure. And then you fill it with water. The rest of fill the whole thing up with water and let it sit for a day or two. And that makes manure tea. In other words, it's making something kind of like one of those fertilizers that you would mix with water to water your plants. You're making your own, and it's really good. And another advantage of it is down in the South, we have a grass that's called bahia, and it will drive you nuts. If you're not nuts already, it'll drive you nuts because it shoots up this thing about that tall every 3 days with these seeds on it. So it's just like you're mowing all the time if you get that bahia grass in your yard. So that manure tea, it does your plants really good, but you don't get the bahia seed even though it is in the manure. It germinates in there and dies, and so all you're doing is just dipping down and getting some of the water, that colored water, and putting it on your plants. Now that works really good. I mean, you can put it under the eave of your house or whatever, so be a true redneck, and that way the rainwater will come down in that barrel and you won't ever have to fill it up again. You just keep adding manure to it. That's my story on manure tea, and I'm sticking to it. We'll be back in a little bit with this butternut squash. Okay, y'all, our squash is tender. Let me get it out. I put just about a half a cup of water in it because I was afraid it was going to stick to the bottom of my pan. And I went ahead and I cooked it on 400. I thought about cooking it on 350, and then I just said, I just don't think I better do that. So anyway, I cooked it on 400, and I mashed it like that to see if it was tender, and it was. See the smoke coming up from it, don't you? All right, so here's what he told me to do. Let me get me a spoon, and we're going to do this thing. We're going to pull off, we're going to turn it over. First of all, we're going to turn it over. Whoops. And we're going to take the meat out of it like that. It's good and hot. Like that. I'm going to put it in a colander in case there's any liquid in it. We're going to let it just drip a while and cool a while and that kind of stuff. And see, just take your peeling now and set it to the side. And turn this one over. See that little bit of water that I put in the bottom? I just felt like I needed to do that. I was afraid not to. Ooh, that looks so good. That's some pretty meat, isn't it? There's a little piece of peeling in there. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of this good meat out, and I'm putting it over here in a colander with a pan underneath it so it can drip a while, okay? And that's what I'm doing. So that the video won't be too long, I'll do this, and y'all see how to do this. I'm just kind of raking it out of that peeling and putting it over there, and then I'll be right back. Okay, here's my last little piece to rake out, and then I'm going to get out some good spices and this, that, and the other, and like he told me to, and we're going to make us a casserole. We're going to make us a casserole, okay? And my friend told me how to make a pie out of this too. I imagine there's a lot of things you can do with it. All right, I think I've cleaned these peelings pretty good, don't you? All right, so now what I'm doing right here, let's turn you around this way so you can see what I'm doing. He said that sometimes there's a lot of water in this kind of squash. So he told me to put it in a colander and just let it drip. And you can see there's water already dripping out of it, because it would get have too much water in it when I was trying to do my dish. Ooh, there's a little peeling I missed. So they said let it just sit here for a while, so I'll let it sit while I get out all our ingredients, okay? All right, y'all, you ready to make this butternut casserole? Got our, I let it drain a long time to get the water out of it. This recipe calls for 8 cups. I don't know how many cups I've got. I'm not going to measure it, but I'm just going to put good ingredients in it, and it'll be good. I want to show y'all this. Wait a minute. Let me show you this. You don't believe all this. Look at the water that came out of that. Look at that. A bunch. And when he gave me the recipe, he forgot to tell me to drain the water out, so they called and said, oh, Lord, don't put that, you make sure you drain that water out or your casserole will be terrible. So what I've got is I've got this much squash. It calls for 8 cups. I probably got 6, 3, maybe 6, 7, something like that. But I don't think it's quite 8. But I'm going to put all 8 of it in my mixer. I mean, all I've got. I'm going to put all I've got in my mixer, okay? We're going to doctor it up, and it's going to taste delicious. And it's going to have a pecan crust, so you people that are donating to the Child Advocacy Center, you're going to get your pecans if you are the lucky winner. Get me a rag out right here. All right, the first thing we're going to put in is said to put in some brown sugar. So it said 2 cups. We'll put in 1 cup. We'll put my little doodad on there. And let's get another cup of brown sugar and put it on there. You know, everything doesn't have to be perfect. That's about 2. That's 2 cups. All right, 1, 2. All right. All right, as that's going around, it says to put in 1 stick of butter melted. So here's my 1 stick of butter. Melted. It says to put in 3 eggs. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to crack mine and beat them up just a little bit before I put them in there. Y'all see? I think so. I've only eaten butternut squash once in my life, and that was my sister-in-law made some butternut squash, and she didn't make them this way, she made them a different way. Okay, we're going to put our eggs in there. I'll hold this recipe up in front of you so you can screenshot it once I get through doing all of it. The rest is going to get off the heat, okay? All right, now we're going to put in vanilla. Now, y'all, this calls for 4 tablespoons vanilla. That's a lot. I mean, you know, it says 4. I think I'm just going to put in 2 and taste it. 1. That's the last of that. Let me put in a half of this one. I think that'll be right. Okay, I'm just going to put that much to start with, and then if it doesn't taste right, we'll add something to it, okay? It said to add cinnamon. And it says 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, which is a lot. I think I'll undo the top. So it'll come out a little better. One. 2. All right. Oh, Lord. I'm back. All right, so I decided I'd put it in this size casserole. This is a smaller one because it didn't make as much as I thought it was going to make, that big old squash. So anyway, we're going to put it in there. I see something in that. It's a piece of peeling. Let me get that out. All right. Oh, and by the way, when I turned y'all off, I tasted it again. I got so excited with it getting all over me that I didn't taste it again, but I did taste it again, and I put 1 more tablespoon of vanilla in it. So I actually put 3 in here. There we go. Now we're going to put a topping on it. And so what I'm going to do for my topping is I've got about a cup of brown sugar right here. And I've got about a cup of coarse chopped Preacher's pecans. And I've got a 1/3 of a cup of plain flour. This is not his recipe. He didn't put the flour in his, but I like flour in mine. It gives a little extra crunch. And 1 stick of melted butter. Run that around a little time or two. And it looks a little bit on the soupy side, so I'm gonna put a little bit more flour in mine, I think. I'm gonna put just about 1/4 of a cup of little cookie crust on top. Okay, there we go. Now you take your casserole and you sprinkle it around on there. And we're going to bake it at 325 until the little crust is nice and crumbly. We want everybody to get a pecan, so try to spread it out to where it'll be where they can get one. I mean, I've got more that I could put on it, but I'm just putting this much on it. And we'll read the recipe again to make sure we're cooking it on the right temperature. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, we're gonna put it in the oven. Tastes good. And let me see what temperature. 325. For about 45 minutes. But that's in a 9x13 pan, and mine's probably not quite that long, quite that big, but it's close. All right, I'm gonna show you this in case you want to screenshot it. But remember, I didn't do it quite this way. But now it's got spots all over it, and you know why, don't you? Huh? Y'all know why. There, you can screenshot that if you want to. All right. And remember that you've got everything. You get you a squash, and it looks like I'm going to have to be getting me a bar of soap and doing some washing. But you remember that this is what you're going to get. We're going to choose 2 winners. And y'all donate to these children because, I mean, you know, it's a worthy cause. We spend our money on a lot of things, and children are worth it, especially little abused children. Bless their hearts. All right, and I'll post something so you'll know how to do it. Love y'all, and I'll show you this when it comes out, okay? In 45 minutes. Okay, y'all, let's take it out of the oven. I think it's ready. I'll do it without breaking it. Looks mighty good, y'all. Get you where you can see a little better. I'm gonna put it up close to you. Let me get a thicker hot pad to go with this one. I'll put that one with that one and this one with that one. Okay. So I can hold it up and you can see it a little better. See how the pecans and all are in it? And how the top's kind of crusty. Looks delicious. I'm gonna get just a little bite. And then we'll let it cool off a little bit. And then I'll go and get washed up a little bit and change my shirt. I want you to see how that's kind of crusty, the flour. I use the White Lily plain flour, and what it does is it makes almost like a little cookie on top almost. I cooked it on 325, and it said 45 minutes, but I cooked it just a little bit longer than that. Matter of fact, I need to turn my oven off while I'm thinking about it. That is fine. I'll have to be getting me some butternut squash. That is delicious. It almost tastes like a dessert with all that sugar and vanilla in it, butter, pecans. That is fine. So, I will recommend highly that you cook some butternut squash. This is delicious.